Mascot Towers owners could face a lifelong repair bill. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've my stein of coffee, and I thought we'd look at this article about the Mascot Towers and how the owners are dealing with this $10 million repair bill. Someone mentioned in the comments that this topic really hasn't been dealt with enough, because it's not just a simple one-off. This is going to be a loan. This is going to be an amount of money they'll be paying forever. And in some ways, it's really tough to think about. It really is. Another viewer introduced me to a series, Till Death Do Us Part. And it's where it's like Super Nanny, but for people who are in financial trouble. And this woman comes in and just fixes up people's terrible debts and just sorts out their lives. And you've got to realize if you bought an apartment or you're retired, and then all of a sudden you've got a big chunk of money that the body corporate is going to borrow, or that you have to come up with, that'll be ongoing interest, that's going to be another payment. That's going to chip away. So in some ways, it's really unfair to the people in there. So let's have a look at this article. Owners of the faulty Mascot Towers are facing millions of dollars of debt, with some predicting the cost could mean the end of their lives. Apartment owners in the cracking Mascot Towers in Sydney are facing being thrown into decades of crippling debt, and some are worried they may die before the situation gets resolved. Yep. That's one to dwell on. If you're retired and moved into an apartment, downsizing, and then you get hit with this. Residents occupying the 132 apartments were forced out of their homes in June after cracking was found in the primary support structure and facade. Almost 300 people have had to scramble to find other accommodation, causing considerable emotional and financial distress. The owners have been told the first 4 stages of repairs alone could cost $10 million, a bill which they will be locked in to pay back over 15 years. So it'll be interesting to go into that in greater detail. Is that $10 million over a 15-year period? Is that a $10 million loan over 15 years? So if that's $10 million over 15 years and you're paying commercial interest rates, you know what's going to happen. You know the magic of compounding interest. Maybe they need to try and borrow their money from overseas. Doesn't Denmark have negative interest rates? Foreign countries could pay them to borrow the money. Or a bond issue. Actually, why not? That's an idea. Why not a construction repair bond issue? You've got 132 apartments, 300 people. What would be the risk? There definitely would be some, but would it be a higher risk or a lower risk? Someone let me know if you've got experience in setting that up. That may be a solution. Last night, the owners came out in force to demand answers from the state government and warned putting this financial burden on the homeowners would set a very dangerous precedent. Well, you've got the whole thing. You've got buyer beware. Here's the argument. Is it the buyer's responsibility, or is the state liable because they implemented the rules, they implemented the warranty system, they put all these restrictions in place? So yeah, maybe they need to sue the state for compensation so the state takes their role in ensuring the quality of these buildings more serious. So Veronica and Clifton Baker purchased a top-floor apartment when the building first opened in 2008. The self-funded retirees told news.com.au that if they were forced into paying the cost of repairs, they would be in crippling debt for the rest of their lives. So they've done everything right, really, if you think about it. They've done everything right. They're self-funded retirees. Pardon me, self-funded retirees. So they've followed all the rules. They've bought an apartment there. And now, due to, frankly, no fault of their own, they're going to have this crippling debt. So I feel sorry for them, honestly. I feel sorry for them. I appreciate the fact that there has to be, I don't want the state coming in to rescue everyone, but I also think that it's in a tough situation to be in. I'm 74, and I'll be 89 by the time the 15 years is up. So we face the next 15 years of financial hardship after spending our lives doing the right thing by the government, Ms. Clifton said. So, I mean, there were similar things as well I heard in the UK where a pensioner who was getting public housing, she'd put away a little bit every pension. So she got 50 grand saved up. And then the housing, the government or the council took it off her because she had too much savings and she was getting public housing. So if she had just blown that money herself, she would have been in a better position than saving and trying to, achieve some security for herself. Because that's what the state doesn't want, does it? It wants you dependent on them all the time, dependent on them. Oh, well, maybe she should have put it in gold or silver and just, put it in a safe somewhere. Anyway, I mean, that's tough. It's the end of our lives. We'll be dead by the time it's all over, and we will just have to leave the problem to our children. I mean, could they even reverse mortgage? They couldn't. The problem is you can't sell them because this 15 years of cost and other costs are going to be built into the price. So if anyone's going there, 400 grand for an apartment, you're going to take off that cost. Yeah, sure, I'll give you that, but I'll also need to be paying this cost for 15 years. That's a reduction. That's what any sensible person would do. And then, yeah, so it's a tough situation. It really is. To even think about it makes me cry. So yeah, these people are in an emotional situation and they're distraught. And I mean, the thing is, at 74 years old, well, I have to be careful what I say, not to offend any of the older viewers, but you're at a point in your life where you don't want to have all these external stresses. You want to be, you obviously like your routine, you like your order. I'm speaking just in general here and just from my own experience. And you don't want any disruptions. Often, like an older person downsizing is a big effort, and it is a lot of drastic changes and things are going on at that age. You don't want that. This is just another element of stress. So what do you think, guys? Should the government step in and take this on? Is the government liable? Maybe the state needs to mandate longer warranty periods. Maybe the guarantees that are implied for these type of buildings under legislation, maybe that needs to change. Maybe the fact that we've got a privatized certification system needs to change. There's a whole lot of issues. There's a whole lot of ways. So I can understand why people are going to go, no, let's not socialize the losses. No, let's not do that. But in some ways, it's a tough situation to be in when you're at this point in your life, or when the average person buying here would have no way of assessing it. They need to sue. Probably, number one, everyone who did a building pest inspection when they were buying off the real estate agents as well. They need to go them. But if you've ever seen one of these building pest inspections, there's so many clauses to get out of any responsibility. I wonder if they're even worth the paper they're written on. That would be interesting. I'd like to see if those people were liable. Because if there was evidence of damage to the building, you'd have to think people bought it in the time they were aware of it. But then again, they bought it right when the building first opened. So was the damage even evident? Maybe they could sue the Strata Committee, the Strata Council, for not maintaining the building over that time. There you go, there's another one. So there's a lot of parties involved here. I don't think the solution is to go straight to the state. But, yeah, it's not going to be an easy situation. Another owner who didn't want to be named is also a self-funded retiree, and said she bought her apartment so she could sell it when she needed to move into a nursing home. Well, yeah, that's another issue. That happened to us recently, where my father had to go into a nursing home just to get that care, and what they can take off you. Now, I don't have a home or even a place to sell, she said. She's also looking after her parents who both have dementia, and the stress of the past 2 months has nearly broken her. Well, yeah, that's it. This is the human side of the issue. It's just the stress that people are going to be under, kicked out of their home. I've lost a lot of weight. I can't sleep more than 3 hours a night, she said. And I'm not the only one. All of us are in the same boat. Pardon me. At the time of purchasing apartments in Mascot Towers, none of the owners could have known what was to come. But yeah, that's the thing. There is currently an inquiry being held into the regulation of building standards, quality and disputes in New South Wales, which has launched following a series of incidents involving damaged unit buildings. A submission by the Mascot Towers Owners Corporation outlined the various issues with the building, noting it was still passed for occupation despite its faults. Well, I'll make sure to go through that in another video in detail. Fabian Santos bought his unit 4 months ago and had no idea that in just 2 months' time he would be forced to find somewhere else to live. Well, that really sucks. I feel sorry for you, Fabo. That's tough, mate. I had a taste of my first property for not even 2 months. Then the building was evacuated, he told news.com.au. Wouldn't you be happy if you sold it? If you got out just before this? Because people were leaving, we've seen comments where this damage was evident years ago, elements damage to the building. So it's tough to see your dream become a nightmare. You have to wake up every day and deal with this whole situation. So that's the thing. I'd love to see Fabian's, Mr. Santos's building pest inspection that he got, to see what was picked up by the person and his lawyers in that exchange. Pardon me, in that transaction. I'd love to see what they picked up, because that's the thing. That is the buyer beware. Okay, we're taught to go and get a building and pest inspection of these buildings to mitigate our risks, to identify these things. But the problem is, there's so much they can't capture. That's the real question. Okay, sure, the building's been done dodgily. There's issues with the building and maintenance issues, the dilapidation issues, maybe maintenance issues. But the final process we have in place to kind of mitigate that is these building and pest inspections. I haven't heard anyone talk about it before or mentioned before. I'll go through the submissions and to see if any professional bodies from that industry have made submissions. But unless you're doing, X-raying and all these other things, you're not going to know what's happening there, and they're not paying enough. I remember the last one we had one done on a house we looked at, and there were so many clauses, like get out of jail free cards, that I didn't bother getting it done on this house, because frankly, if I got it done on this house, the list of defects or issues, because right now we're in a 100-year house. The studio I'm in is a modern extension on the back. It was a music room, actually, for the previous owner. But the house over there is 100 years old. I got to redo the gutters. I got to re-stump it. I got to replace. I got some timber that's rotting in the floor. But the bones of it is fine. It's solid, really hard wood, old bloody wood. But you get a list of all these issues. It scares you. But we got a good deal, so I'm happy. I don't mind. But the point is, this is the last failsafe. Why isn't it being addressed as well? It's another issue. So, back to the article. Another owner who did not want to be named said the first few weeks went by in a blur. For me, initially, I was in shock. The first week went by and I was just on autopilot. I don't remember half the things that I did, she said. I got on the train one night. I wasn't staying here anymore, but I came to Mascot and I didn't even realize. I had to go back on the train to Central. Oh, she had to go back to this. Oh, boy. The owners are calling for the Premier, Better Regulation and Innovation Minister, Kim Anderson, and new Building Commissioner, David Chandler, to attend a meeting on August 22, where they will vote on whether the $10 million first-stage repairs will go ahead. Okay, so they want the Premier there. What do you think, guys? What do you think? I want to see how a buyer can protect themselves from this potential situation, if it's even possible. If it is even possible, that's the question I have. That's what I want to ask. If you're in the game, If you're in the building and pest game, let me know. Would you be able to detect these issues? Or would it be beyond your scope? Or people wouldn't pay you enough to do a proper inspection? That could be it too. So there's a lot of issues here. It isn't a simple open and cut case. The fact that the building's out of the warranty period, why it wasn't detected in the defects liability period. And yeah, so there's a whole lot of issues here, and the industry definitely needs to address it. And this is just going to be another step on the road to more and more. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all again later. Take care.